This is TWiT.
I assume, Richard, this has been a big thing in your world. And
yes.
I have to say, I have not been pushed hard on something like this in the enterprise side of things in a long time. I have to go back to my days at Windows IT Pro. But Google has reached out to me multiple times about this. Amazon did recently, where there's this other battleground occurring in the EU around big tech, aside from all the stuff we know about, like Apple app stores and the gatekeeper stuff and all that. And it really is just a long-term issue in Europe around data sovereignty and sovereignty. Thank you. And sovereignty. There you go.
There we go.
I don't understand English either. And data privacy and all that kind of stuff. And you know, these cloud vendors over the years have worked to make sure that people can keep their data within their region or within their country, yada, yada, yada. So the new battle is, well, there's twofold. There's the licensing practice by which Microsoft makes it difficult, allegedly, to move customers between different clouds, right? They want to keep you in Azure. And a big part of that is this thing called egress fees. The idea is that I'm ready to leave, or at least I want to leave partially. I want to move some of my data to one of the other clouds. And I think really because of regulatory pressure, Google and AWS over time agreed to end those fees, right? And they've been calling on Microsoft very vocally to do the same. And Microsoft has resisted. Actually, Amazon resisted for a while too. If my memory serves, Google did this in January. AWS did it about 10 seconds ago. So Microsoft just did it too. So that's the rough timing.
And it's because they were headed towards legislation and they didn't want
they were going to be slapped down. Yep.
It's not just moving between clouds. It's also what they're calling repatriation.
Yeah.
Oh.
So as people,
right. In other words, make sure the data comes out of a particular locale and gets back to.
Oh, I want to move it back on-prem because it's costing me too much in the cloud, which may be, your fault or their fault. Like there's a whole debate here of this lift and shift that happened over the pandemic, which has now turned into a bunch of monthly bills that continue to grow. And so CFOs are sort of pushing back. And one of the solutions, rather than re-architecting your software to be more efficient in the cloud, is just ship it home. Right. But then you look at the egress fees and say, this is a barrier to that. And it's like, well, that's just wrong. Let's see if we can get legislation to knock it out. And which clearly was happening. So, it's not a bad, there is no excuse for egress fees, really.
Yeah, right. 100%. Yeah, predatory. I mean, I think.
Unless you're going to put in ingress fees. At least make it cost you go in and cost you go out.
That's interesting. Ingress fees. This is everyone else is doing it. Defense is pretty common in big tech. I think that explains App Store fees actually. But it
also explains charging for luggage, right? Like there's and fuel surcharges and like it's a kind of pseudo monopolistic practice. Well, everybody else is doing it, so we get to do it too.
Yeah, I mean there was an economist who argued that it wasn't any lack of profit on big tech's side that resulted in the mass layoffs that took place, but more it was shaped by that herd mentality that you saw one company do it, so you did it too, and it was two things: one, that herd mentality, but also then it brought those companies up in terms of the investors who were going, ooh, you're costing less money, so this is great.
It was a cheap way to get a stock bump at a time when you didn't have a lot of new product to talk about.
Yep. I mean, I can't prove the second half of it, but the notion that these guys were not suffering from a profit or revenue perspective is easily proven.
One banner quarter that's after another. One banner quarter, just one right after the other.
Yep.
Hey, it's me, Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from Windows Weekly. If you want to see more and want to catch the whole show, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client or visit our website, twit.tv/WW. And of course, there's links right below me.